Now I'd like to introduce the former Commander-in-Chief, my husband, President George W. Bush.
Thank you all. Thank you. Sit down. Thank you all. Thank you, Laura. Laura was a fabulous First Lady. I one time said that and the crowd went wild, then I realized my mother was sitting on the front row. She's also a fabulous advocate for our military spouses and caregivers. Mr. Vice President, it's great to be in your presence. Doug DeVos, Jeff Rosen, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. I am incredibly proud, along with Laura, to receive the Liberty Medal. And I thank the National Constitution Center and the members of its board for this high honor. Laura and I are the second and third members of our family to have received this award. The most deserving, of course, was the first. And I'm proud to follow in my dad's footsteps once again. In case you're wondering, he's doing all right these days, and he sends his greetings. He is 94 years old, and his parachuting adventures are now officially behind him. At least that's what we keep telling him. Both my dad and my brother Jeb once served as the chairman of the National Constitution Center, a position that is now held by Vice President Biden. Joe, you're looking good. Yeah, it's amazing what happens when you get out of office. I really appreciate your good spirit in presenting this award. I thank you for your public service, and I wish you all the very best. Joe and I, share a love of liberty. To that end, as Joe mentioned, the Bush Institute is partnering with the Penn Biden Center and the Freedom House on a project to reaffirm support for democracy, both at home and abroad. We aim to inspire men and women in the darkest corners of the world and instruct a rising generation on the beauty and the possibility of free societies. When the Vice President was here last year to bestow this same award, the recipient was a man who dedicated his life to the cause of liberty, a man we admire and miss. And who better to keep close in memory on Veterans Day than our friend John McCain. John's passing this summer was an occasion to recall the kind of bravery and fortitude we have always counted on in the armed services of the United States. This is a man who had been to the darkest places as a prisoner of war. He returned as a witness to the unbreakable bonds of loyalty and comradeship amongst those who sacrificed for our country. As for the privilege of serving, John said on this stage last year, he was repaid 1,000 times over. It was sure a modest way of looking at it. But that's how it is with so many men and women who have worn the uniform. And often the humility runs deepest in the ones who gave the most. I've been fortunate to meet thousands of these patriots. And what most of them want to tell me is this: they were proud to serve, and they'd do it again. Veterans Day is the appropriate time to honor them. 1918, on the 11th day of the 11th month, an armistice ended the Great War. News of a quiet Western Front prompted celebrations all around the world on this very day 100 years ago. It was a moment of hope that the light of liberty could never be extinguished. Every November 11th since, we've shown our appreciation to all those who've stepped forward to take an oath, to live by a code of conduct, and accept the discipline of military life, a discipline that brought out the best and that which was in them. We recall what it means to put country above self, ready if the orders to come to face war and everything that goes with it. We think of all the American soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who never lived to be called veterans, and the warfighters who came home to face new struggles as wounded veterans. By far the gravest responsibility any president has is to be a commander-in-chief, leading the most formidable, courageous, selfless collection of men and women you will find anywhere. And in the near decade since Laura and I left the White House, we've had the further honor of knowing so many veterans as friends, especially those who served or enlisted after September the 11th, 2001. The Bush Institute on the campus of Southern Methodist University in Dallas, we're helping warriors and their families keep moving forward in life. The transition can be extremely tough for our vets. Some come home with visible and invisible wounds of war. Others feel disconnected from their communities or miss the sense of purpose they found in their military career. We are helping them with health care, career opportunities, and the fellowship of other veterans. These men and women are tremendous national assets, and they have so much more to give to our country. With us tonight are members of the Bush Institute's Warrior Wellness Alliance. It's a project we started to get more warriors the quality, personalized care they need and deserve for invisible wounds of war like post-traumatic stress, and traumatic brain injury. Laura and I joined some of these partners at Point Breeze neighborhood earlier today for a service project where we planted trees in a public park. Travis Manion Foundation was there. The mission continues. Team Rubicon, Team Red, White, and Blue. It is always a joy to be with our veterans and to see them helping each other as they help the communities in which they live. As you've heard, not only do we produce programs, but we host the Warrior Open Golf Tournament and the W100K mountain bike ride. These outings underscore the importance of sports as a rehabilitation component for some vets, and they offer a support network for continued recovery. The inspiration they provide for each other and for those of us there is far greater than anything we could offer them. I aim to keep doing it. I aim to keep riding mountain bikes until my bike breaks down or my body. I count these friendships among the great blessings of my life. And I have painted quite a few of them. You may have heard that I took up painting a while back. And I'm pleased to say that some of my paintings are on public display. If you happen to go to an art museum where they are, just look for the sign that says Gallery of the Masters and go the other way. The good news is even my toughest critic says I'm kind of improving. You know, I think the turning point may have been when I began the paintings for my book, Portraits of Courage. The participants of our mountain bike rides and golf tournaments have formed a group known as Team 43. And I wanted to capture at least something of their resilience and greatness of heart on canvas. I painted 98 of these remarkable men and women and recorded their stories. You've heard from two of my subjects tonight, Leslie Zimmerman and Michael Rodriguez. I call him Rod. When I painted Leslie, I painted a compassionate woman who saw firsthand the horrors of war as a combat medic. I painted a fierce competitor on the mountain bike, which she has used to overcome the invisible wounds of war. I painted a veteran who has become a dedicated wife and mother, a selfless soul who's determined to help others. And I painted a friend. In capturing Rod, I wondered, how does an artist show the character of a courageous Green Beret who saw tough combat against terrorists, sustained repeated injuries, and worried only about missing the next deployment? A husband who struggled with post-traumatic stress as he helped his wonderful wife, also a veteran, deal with hers. A father whose son, born just a few years before 9/11, became the fifth generation of the Rodriguez family to serve in the military. Rod mentioned his son, Antonio, and the fact that his platoon, the mighty Taco Vipers, has just returned from Afghanistan, and we salute him, Rod. I'll leave it for better judges to decide how close my portraits came to the mark. I can assure you only that they were put on canvas with my utmost respect and care. And the message isn't just how honorable and heroic these men and women were in the past. It is that this new generation of veterans has the gifts to shine in whatever they do. They number in the hundreds of thousands, and no group of citizens is more vital to the future success of our country. Come to think of it, that's always been true of veterans, ever since a former Army general presided over the Constitutional Convention. There's no steadier influence in the life of our nation than the ones who have defended America and understand what it takes. What would the influence of America itself be today without the legacy of our veterans? We rightly speak of our nation as a force like no other in history, with liberating armies, moral commitments, and alliances to safeguard peaceful nations from every kind of enemy. Generations of statesmen and diplomats have done their part. Yet for our peaceful purposes in the world, nothing has ever mattered more than the skill and the courage and the sheer decency of those who've served in the United States military. For my part, to return the salute of such people was the highest of all the privileges that came with the office of President. And because the Liberty Medal is presented to Laura and me on Veterans Day, we will cherish it all the more. To us, it will always be a reminder of the people we deeply admire, including some very special men and women we know and love. I want to thank you very much. May God bless our veterans, and may God continue to bless the United States of America.